Welcome to RevMD, a podcast created for healthcare professionals by healthcare professionals. We will share tips on medical billing and coding, as well as other workflow optimization to help practices succeed, thrive, and grow revenue. Welcome, everyone. I am thrilled that there was so much interest in starting a medical billing and coding educational series. Honestly, this started out as an exercise for a group of residents, but there was so much interest in creating something for practicing physicians that we decided to do this for a broader audience. So here we are. Now, I certainly recognize that this is somewhat of a sleepy topic, so we're going to create short vignettes so that we can help digest a complicated world of insurance and medical billing and give practical tips for your practice. My name is Heather Signorelli. I'm a pathologist, a mom, and a physician executive who deals with business operations day in and day out. Today, we're going to set the stage for the upcoming weeks with these 7 reasons on why you should actually care or pay attention to medical billing and coding. While there are certainly alternative payment models for practices that really don't utilize insurance, our patients continue to have to deal with it. Therefore, we're sharing tips and tricks for anybody to help maximize reimbursement and understand the complexities. So let's start with number 1, and this may be the most basic one, but medical billing is actually, for the most part, how we get paid. It's how our employers get paid. It's how the hospitals get paid. And while I'll talk later in the course series around the different payment models between facilities and hospitals and outpatient practices, it is, for the most part, how we keep the lights on. It's how we pay ourselves, our staff, etc. And so even as an employed physician like myself, I realize now, having been in practice for the last decade almost, how important learning how to code and bill correctly impacts my job. So today in my practice, medical billing and coding is something that our physicians deal with and impacts actually oftentimes even how they are paid for. Therefore, the revenue of your practice or the hospital that you work in really does impact your own success and salary. And it also allows you to be a good partner. So if you really understand medical billing and coding, this allows you to grow revenue where others may miss out. All right, number 2. The second reason for us to really understand is because, guess what? Like I said before, our patients are dealing with this. This is a big one for me. Even as an employed physician, as a pathologist, I am often asked about bills, coverage, and helping manage patient requests when they get a bill that they don't understand. While we can't solve all of our patients' insurance problems, and I'm certainly not suggesting we go down that rabbit hole, I do think that understanding the system helps us be better advocates for our patients. When we can answer questions for our patients about what they are paying for and why, this helps with patient satisfaction and could even help us identify mistakes that were made and help correct them. So again, patients that are dealing with insurance is a big one for me and a big reason why I think all physicians need to understand. All right, number 3. So as you may or may not know, there are actually 2 worlds of reimbursement. There's fee-for-service and there's bundled payments. I will spend much more detail and time on this in a later podcast, but for now, most outpatient practices are still fee-for-service. It's sort of an eat what you kill phenomenon, right? This means that the charges or the CPTs that you drop, you get paid for based on that. So if you don't drop the CPT, you can't get paid. Now, we will always discuss things that you do that you can't get paid for, and that's a different discussion. But in general, you need to drop the CPT. You need to know about the code, drop the code in order to get paid. Many physicians actually undercode and leave money on the table for missed collections. So much, in fact, that $125 billion, yes, you heard that correctly, are left uncollected or underpaid in revenue each year in the United States. So again, it's very important for us to understand because we still live in a world for fee-for-service, at least on the outpatient side. There are some nuances around that, which we'll go into at a later date. All right, let's talk about the 4th reason why you should care. For those of you just starting out, there are things called modifiers. Modifiers allow you to sometimes bill for CPTs that previously you couldn't get paid on. It's essentially a way for us to explain clinically why we're doing something and that we need to get paid for it. Cannot stress enough how important it is understanding when to use modifiers in your practice. So much so that we're going to spend an entire podcast just on modifiers. Now, I will always stress that everything in your practice should be done ethically and clinically appropriate. That is always first and foremost. So once you start to learn the modifiers you can use and the appropriate scenarios to use them, you can increase your revenue. Now, of course, this always means that you have to document. That is the sacred rule of medicine, right? If it wasn't documented, it wasn't done. Luckily, I think today most of us grew up on EHRs, and therefore our documentation is pretty good. But there's no reason to really, quote unquote, play it safe by undercoding, because we know when to use the modifiers, when to drop CPT codes, how we're documenting. So again, we just don't want to miss out on compensation that you deserve based on what you're doing in your practice. All right, number 5. Guess what? You're actually responsible for accurate medical coding. Now, you guys may or may not have read the long Medicare contract that you signed when you were credentialed, but you actually signed an attestation that you agreed to code appropriately. Those contracts, which are tied to your MPI number, actually say that you are responsible. So even if you're getting help from a medical coder, a professional medical coder, which in some cases I'd certainly recommend, there are some subspecialties that are very complicated. At the bottom of it, you are still responsible. Therefore, it's critical that you learn the basics. And even if you outsource, hire the best people. If you need a recommendation, please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, number 6. It's important to understand, because then you can know when the additional services or how other quality programs can help you increase your revenue. This is critical because there are often times when you do routine tests or procedures per se that result in unexpected findings, and then you can actually add extra CPT codes appropriately. And now, while the fees may not be huge, they do add up. We're going to spend some additional time talking about quality programs because there's a ton of them. Whether it's chronic care management or performance-based models, there are a number of ways that allow you to capture additional revenue depending on the things that you document or the programs that you set up in your office. We also have an ability to set these up and help practices automate or semi-automate this to make it easier. So last but not least, our 7th reason on why you should really care about the medical billing and coding in your office: the data. As a physician who loves Excel spreadsheets herself, I cannot stress this enough. If you understand medical billing and coding, you set expectations for your staff, for your billers. And the expectation is that they show you the data so that you can understand what's going on with your revenue. This is another huge one to me. If you can't see the data or understand what data to monitor, you are leaving money on the table. I guarantee it. Take the time to understand the metrics. I plan to spend an extended amount of time on this in this course, and we'll even create some PDFs of examples so that you know what to look for and where to find it. So I've really seen physicians lose so much because they didn't have a reliable biller, access to the data, or an ability to help audit workflows. Because remember, the data is actually something that allows you to see, are there process gaps, are there issues with clean claims, so that you can then optimize your office so you get paid sooner or at higher rates. So the data is going to be very important, but the data doesn't make much sense if you don't understand the whole process. So again, it's important to understand medical billing so that you can do a better job for your office and for your patients. So to recap why you're here today and why you should care, let's go through the top 7 reasons. Number 1, remember, this is how we get paid. Number 2, our patients are dealing with insurance. Number 3, most of our world that is outpatient is still fee-for-service. Number 4, because being able to understand modifiers helps you grow revenue. Number 5, like it or not, we are actually responsible for accurate medical billing and coding. Number 6, when you understand when to bill for additional services or how to utilize quality programs, you again can grow revenue. You guys are seeing a theme here. Number 7, last but not least, is to really understand the data and metrics that you should be following to make your practice succeed. Thank you for joining today. If healthcare professionals understand the complexities of medical billing and reimbursement, we can be advocates for our patients and grow our own revenue. If you like this podcast, share it on Facebook and invite others to the Facebook group RevMD.